I have here a couple of sort of legacy era decks from an in-between era of the game. Flagship operations, this one kind of focuses on Bespin and getting a lot of ties out, and then Senate Gungans, which is about controlling Naboo and getting a lot of retrieval. I think I'll start with the flagship operations here. So this is a combat readiness virtual start. You get out Bespin, which lets you play Executor for 8. So half price basically. And start with the docking bay as my ground site. Now this one lets me take into hand an effect is the main thing it does, but the ability for being able to prevent stuff from getting lost before the damage segment is pretty good. I can deploy floating refineries with this and or ties, and then when I have cloud sectors controlled, can help the opponent lose some force. This lets me get out a system and then also take an end-or effect into hand. This helps me retrieve a little bit of force. This deck's pretty slow to set up, but the idea is to retrieve some force. That's the Executor that comes out fairly early, and Flagship goes on it. Big deal here is it makes it so I can take into hand once per turn an Executor site, because I want to get out all 5 Executor sites. Once I get 5 Executor sites out, I can deploy Flagship operations. So my capital starships are cheaper, my battle destiny draws are better, and my ties are much better forfeit and destiny. Retrieve force when I deploy ties. This lets me get into hand effects for fairly cheap. I have a few copies of that. Imperial Command to get admirals and make them better. He makes my force drains a little bit better. He lets me take into hand this Commander, who also helps me get Executor sites maybe a little bit faster. And he's pretty good for getting deflector shield generators on there, making it immune to power pivot, which is a pretty annoying card if you're playing a power 18 Star Destroyer by the time you get a couple pilots on it. Here, this is the planet that you use to deploy the tie retrieval effect on, so that was this one here. It's got to deploy on that system in order for me to retrieve ties when I deploy. And the storm clouds here, it's nice to have 2 icons instead of 1, and just by controlling one site, my force drains are +1 and can't be cancelled there. And other clouds and extra clouds, a bunch of Executor sites. So pretty good activation ratio here. I guess I give up 1, 2, 3, 4, and I get, if I'm counting right, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So not too bad. Some guys on the ground, no immunity to attrition really, but they're pretty heavy hitters. And a couple of ties for when I want to start deploying and retrieving. Tie squadrons get a pretty big destiny bonus from having flagship operations out. Power bonus for the ties. And this is a fun card, so being able to deploy tie assault squadrons for free and then retrieving 3 force when you do it. Of course, you usually have to pay 3 force with the shields now. And a couple of stuff to slow down light side damage since it is a slow deck to set up. But that's the dark side one. I didn't have a ton of success with it, but I wanted to find some way to put flagship operations in a deck. This light side one is a bit more my style. I always liked Senate decks that involved a lot of Queen Amidala. Sleeves in these ones are kind of falling apart. So starting out with 3 effects, including battle plan and draw their fire to initiate battles for free if I need to. And it's been a while since I made this deck. I'm not sure why I had that as a starting effect. I wonder what the reasoning is there. Maybe I'll see that later. But the other site I start out with the objective is Boss Nass's Chambers, which lets me go get Boss Nass, who can get Steady, and Rep Bean. And he lets me get the Ota Gunga Entrance. And Boss Nass also lets me get Jar Jar, and there's an interrupt that lets me get the battle planes, but Captain Tarpulse is pretty good, so basically if he's on table, my underwater sites are pretty much totally protected. I know spies can deploy there, but cards with ability are +4 to underwater sites, so I'm probably not going to get blown out there. knock on wood. Bunch of Gungans, energy shield of course, and basically protects my characters against weapons, but I can still shoot my own weapons, and these are pretty interesting boomas. And it's interesting, you can target twice, and if it's less than the total number of opponent's characters there, one of them is lost, the opponent gets to choose, so it just kind of whittles away at opponent's characters. Plus with Jar Jar on table, the weapon destiny draws are -2, so there's a very good chance I'm going to draw less than the number of characters there. And she's kind of the key to the deck, being allowing me to retrieve 1 force for each Naboo site I control. So I'm trying to get a battleground site and a battleground system, and then 2 other Naboo sites, which those are the underwater sites, is not that hard. So retrieving 3 force with her is the idea, just by having 1 Gungan at each of the underwater sites, and then a decent-sized army at the plains. And a bunch of political characters, so your force drains are +1 at battleground systems while you control battleground site. A lot of that here. Oh, if you occupy a battleground site and a battleground system, opponent loses 2 force. So really just trying to get those, see if I can lock down those 2 locations. Easier said than done for sure. And he's fun. When I initiate a force drain, a battleground system can retrieve a force. These let me get some senators into hand. Wow, I put 4 copies in here. Okay. I must have really wanted senators. And I have 3 copies of this one to take senators back into my hand, which can be nice, but I don't know if I need 3 copies in retrospect. Then I got my Naboo system and my Naboo docking bay, so I guess I can spread it even a little bit more. And, oh, I forgot, I think Jar Jar lets me pull Naboo sites, or Naboo locations from the Coruscant set. Then in space, I kept it very Naboo themed with the Bravo fighters. Looks like I got 3 of them. Bravo 5 just isn't very good, but Bravo 2 seems pretty nice with that. Opponent's battle destiny draws are -2 at the same system. And gosh, while he's at Naboo, the battle destiny draws are -1, so -3 to their battle destinies. And if you get a couple of Naboo fighters there at once, you're drawing, he's adding 2 battle destinies. And then here's one to take into hand, a Naboo starfighter. So, not sure how feasible it is. I've only played this deck maybe once, and it was many years ago. But just trying to get 2 battlegrounds, a site in the system locked down while having a few senators and the queen at the Senate chamber, and then draining for 4 and retrieving 3 or 4 each turn. Hopefully it helps you grind out a win. That's at least the idea. So we had a couple here, not too related decks. Don't have much in common with each other, but 2 ones that seemed like a good idea, and maybe they would have done okay in the format we were playing, but I really didn't get much of a chance to play them before we switched over to the current modern format. Anyways, I'm about 2/3 of the way through the deck videos at this point. I have maybe 6 more for each side to come, and stay tuned for those in coming weeks. Thanks for watching.